Hey guys, what's up? It's Serio Tenant here today, and I'm going to be giving you the my personal opinion on the new Sun and Moon theme decks. Uh, I've kind of held off on this review, mostly because I wanted to actually play test the decks and try to get a feeling for them. After a lot of playing, I gotta say, Roaring Heat's pretty much garbage. Like, no, okay, none of the decks are garbage, but some definitely struggle more than others. Um, as far as consistency goes, they've changed up the Pokemon line from 30 Pokemon, 12 trainers, and 18 energy to 28, 12, and 20. So that means that you're going to have less bricking when it comes to playing the theme deck format. Less, like just a ton of basic Pokemon in hand, nothing to do with them, no energies. High energy cost Pokemon are slightly more viable now. That's going to be pretty interesting going forward. But like these are not going to really change the theme deck meta because as a whole, these don't have a way to counter weakness. Like a good deck like the like Gears of Fire, it has Steel, which counters like half of the water Pokemon out there. Uh, so it counters one of its counters, which is pretty nice. Well, like look at this grass deck. This grass deck is all grass Pokemon. This has okay, three normal evolution lines. Well, they're not even evolution lines. They're just like three normal Pokemon. Um, and this thing takes four energy to attack. Like you're never gonna get this thing charged up. So like you play against a fire deck with this, you're just really sad. Like even if you get Dart or Decidueye out, you're just kind of sad before it's over. Uh, that being said, I do think Forest Shadow is the second best deck because if you manage to get out Shinotic fast, even though you have those bad matchups, the consistency that this thing gives you for a theme deck is kind of insane. Um, you can pretty much draw through all of your Pokemon and just like ensure that you're hitting energies and you have everything that you need in your hand. Shinotic actually makes this pretty good. Bright Tide, I think, is the best deck, and that's because it has a one of Lantern. Like this Lantern here hits for 120 HP. This condition's meaningless because it basically hits for 120 every single time. Uh, it covers. It doesn't cover your weakness, but at least like it doesn't get hit for weakness against like grass. So that's pretty good. Like these, they don't counter their counters, but it works out pretty well. And then Corsola, Call for Family is great. If you can get this like at your beginning, that's 5 cards out of your deck that you just don't want to draw, and it's all Pokemon you want. And then you're free to like use your hand for things like Ultra Ball. Um, I honestly think the Bright Tide is the best theme deck right now. Because if you open Corsola, you can thin out 5 cards, drop Lillipups, get Herdiers. You can cycle through your entire hand using Ultra Balls. You can use an Ultra Ball 3 times with Herdier. Use it 3 times, thin out your hand, drop a Lily. It's pretty good. You got rid of all your dead Pokemon. You drew 6 new cards, hopefully almost all energy or like draw power, maybe even a Kukui. The one problem with the deck is, okay, well, Lantern hits for 120, but I always have consistency problems with getting out Lantern. I usually get out either Cloister or like Primarina. Well, you played 2 Primarina, so it's fairly consistent to get this thing out. And it does do 100 damage and heals itself for 30. Healing is big in theme decks. But so is one hit killing, and this thing just slightly misses the mark, the magic number of 120. So sometimes people will drop a Zapdos on you, and they'll start charging it up. You'll kill like 2 Pokemon in a row. They'll drop the Zapdos, they'll hit you for 120. You have 150 HP. So, pretty good. It's not enough to live through 2 Zapdoses, though. two strikes from Zapdos, or from Zygarde or whatever it is. And then sometimes you're left flopping when it dies. So it's got some problems. Also, this deck basically insta loses to grass. I mean, like the lantern. If you can get the lantern out, yeah, you have a chance. But it's not like it's not as big of a line as like a normal theme deck would have. This is primarily water based, and it has a lot of filler Pokemon. Like this Wingle's ass. But a lot of theme decks have filler Pokemon. But I felt like the Steam Siege decks, those those didn't really have filler Pokemon. Those didn't have things like that Wingle. So yeah, like I said, these aren't really making a huge change on the theme deck meta if you like to play theme deck tournaments. But these ratios, this 20 energy instead of 18 and only 28 Pokemon means you're gonna have less filler Pokemon. That will be a huge change. Now, the Roaring Heat deck, I keep seeing people play it. I've lost to it a few times. Torkoal's pretty good. 2 energies, hits for 50, it can paralyze. But this deck is kind of ass. Like, compared to the others. You've got this Boldore that does 30 damage for 2 energy, and then it's got a lot of health, but it doesn't do much. This Makuhita is awful. This Makuhita has 2 retreat cost. I'd say the biggest problem with this is like if you open bad, like you're stuck. You can't just like drop an energy and like retreat whenever you want. Your opponent can like force you into their tempo if you draw poorly with this, because look at this thing. This thing has 3 retreat cost. If you open this and like these are prized, or this is like you can't get to this, you're never getting this thing. You're never getting this thing gone. Like your opponent bricks, no, they're gonna have all the time in the world to counter you. And the sad thing is your Pokemon, like your big hitter is this thing, has guaranteed 50 damage. Because the way burns work, it's like it does 20 damage and then they get to flip a coin. If they get heads, I believe that's canceled, and then if it's tails, they take another 20 at their end phase. So you only get 50 guaranteed damage. 50% of the time you get 70. Darkest Lariat is like either really good and you sack them really hard because you flip 2 coins, or you flip 0 heads and then you're really sad. It takes as much energy as like a Zapdos. So this card is trash. This card, like, hitting 200 is relevant in a few matchups, but like hitting 0 is relevant in every matchup. So I would definitely take the consistency of other theme decks over playing this Incineroar and getting this thing charged up. Passimian, I've been seeing people make decks with this. Okay, it's a great card. We have double colorless energy and 4 of them, not 2. So that's right. This thing can only hit for 40 damage at most. Fling is strong. Hitting the bench is strong in theme decks, but I don't know. I tend to play against, like, if someone's dumb enough to just like bench all of their Pokemon like straight off the bat before they even see what happens, especially in theme deck for tournaments, like there's no N. There's no reason to bench your Pokemon at the beginning. I don't like cards that will just help me win matchups that like I'd be able to beat them anyway because they're bad players. And Sandygast, dude, this thing, okay. Palossand is actually probably the strongest card introduced out of everything in these theme decks. It's got 130 HP, 20 HP shield from every attack. Because let's be fair, unless they're hidden for weakness, unless it's a grass deck, because that 20 HP shield, this thing's like a 2-3 shot. It's a 2 shot. It's a 2 shot from like pretty much everything, even Hoopa, 2 shot. But then it's got this ability, Absorb Vitality. If it wasn't for the energy cost on this card would be amazing. But having the struggle, and the retreat cost is actually not even relevant, because you'll probably win off this being dropped alone if you manage to get it loaded up. 50 damage? Okay. but it heals you for the same amount of damage you did. Which means if you play a Kukui, this heals you for 70. Which basically gives you an effective another 90 health when you include the 20 HP shield. That's insane. Like, this thing just... If it manages to kill, like, a big threat, they will, like, probably never get anything up to counter it again. Well, I guess Zapdos counters it, but most theme decks, well, there's the Roaring Skies one that has 2 Zapdoses, and they nerfed the Crashing Current, so it only has 1 Zapdos now, so like you don't have to worry about that. Palossand can easily just like take the entire game, and it would literally be Zapdos or bust. It's boss monster or bust to get rid of this. There's no poking it away with like 2 Pokemon like you can some other things. And this Beware. See, this is why I'm really torn about the Roaring Heat. It is like the sackiest deck, because this thing hits for like 120 if you want it to, and then takes 20. It's got 130 HP, which is really relevant. It can lift their Zapdos, and they can one-shot it. 40 for 2, okay. But once again, there's a consistency thing. It's like a 2-1 line. You get 2 Stuffles and 1 Beware, and then you get like 2 Sandygast and 1 Palossand, and just that line with no real searching. You get this Oranguru. What upsets me about him is the fact that people, like, I keep playing online. I played, what is it? I've played 10 games with this, 17 games with Bright Tide, and 9 games with the Forest of Shadow. Yeah, I've played against, I think, 4 people I've counted that have like gotten multiple draws off of this Oranguru. When I played this deck, every single time it felt like if I had Oranguru down, I had like 9 basic Pokemon in hand, even with these reduced lines. There's just no way to get rid of them. You got 1 Ultra Ball. That's it. You got 1 discard outlet. And then this card right here, it does nothing. You're never going to get end. It's never going to draw you any more cards. It does have an okay attack. 60 plus 20 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active, so I guess that is good, but like I just feel like you're not getting the full utility out of this card. That's pretty much how I feel about this. Also, let's see the win ratio. 60%, 6 out of 10. 10 out of 17. 5 out of 9. So, I mean, they're all doing pretty decent, but I'd still have to say just Bright Tide. Bright Tide just feels better. You have more options. And if you're going to pick up any of these, I highly suggest you get Bright Tide. Even though Roaring Heat's got the Passimian that people are wanting to play, I mean, if you just wait like a week or two, Passimian's going to be like a common in the deck. So, no, it's an uncommon right there. It's going to be an uncommon. Just don't buy Roaring Heat unless like you really like Incineroar. Because I think too often you're going to be in those situations where you need to get like double heads on Darkest Lariat, or like even just 1 head, and you're going to get double tails. And you're going to be sad. Like, this game has enough coin flipping as it is. And to pretty much base your entire deck around coin flipping just seems like a pretty bad idea. But that's it for my thoughts on these theme decks. So until next time, this is Serio Tenon signing out.